StreamYard said, hey guys, wait a minute. Put your picture here. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Terry TV. I'm Terri Hardin, your host and creator of this channel. So, I mean, one and the same, right? Like double mint gum. How are you? I'm Terri Hardin. I am a pop icon, a Disney Imagineer, a Jim Henson Muppeteer. I've been in Ghostbusters, Men in Black, a lot of different films and TV. And I started this channel, if you can believe it, 5 years ago. I have to tell you that although we are small, we are mighty, this group that's on this channel. And what are you going to see? A plethora of things. I am here for you. I am excited to be here for you. It is Monday after the 4th of July, wowie weekend holiday, which I hope you guys got to partake some of it. I hope you got to. I am very, very excited to see you guys today. And I'm going to talk a couple of things. The main thing is starting something new. As I am becoming semi-retired. And what does that mean? Well, I'm an artist and a speaker. And I'm an internationally known and collected artist. And I do a show. I'm a judge on Outrageous Pumpkins. So I have stuff going on. But I ask myself, and I ask you out there, if you are artistic in nature, and I mean anything you do that you love means that you're an artist, so you can answer this, do you ever retire when you're doing something you love? And the answer is no, you really don't. You may shift and change. So, for example, during the pandemic, I decided to take up painting again. And it's been a fun journey. I've tripped, I've fallen, I've scuffed my knees. I'm continuing to work in my paintings to try and get there. I want my paintings to be a bit looser. I'm known for my sculpture ever since my puppets. I'm a puppeteer. I build my own puppets. I design puppets for others. I do cosplay outfits for people. Back in the day, they were called costume contest outfits. So I get the terms mixed up a bit. But I build all kinds of things for people, but it's a little more stretched out. You got to make appointments with me. We have to discuss your budget, et cetera, because I'm not about being busy as I go down the road to semi-retirement. I want to do more traveling. I have some very clear ideas where I'd like to go and what I'd like to do. And I want to have time to keep learning. That's why I decided today, as we come off the 4th of July, Independence Day, 4 days of joyful holiday for many of you. Some of you, if you work Thursday, if you had Thursday off, which was the official 4th of July, you worked that day, or you negotiated to work that day so that you could have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off. So you just kind of cleared your Friday on Thursday. So then you celebrated your 4th on the 5th. Or if you were like my best friend who lives in the Midwest, it was real thunder and lightning, she said. So they're waiting to do their fireworks on the 5th. But that gave you options, right? And that's the beautiful thing about people. You just adjust and figure it out. And then some of you say Independence Day is something so wonderful to celebrate. Let's just do it all 4 days. Boom, 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 like 4 days. So pretty amazing, pretty wild, but a really great way to celebrate. My husband and I basically just got a little bit of work done. We've got some things in the works that we want to get done. I have a few deadlines on my books, and to me, retirement means creating without a deadline. So I need to finish those deadlines and get those things done. And then I'm free to create what I want to at my own pace. But one of the things that I've just signed up with that I love very much that starts this evening is a color analysis class, which means that I started painting. I love color. And I usually, when I'm doing a sculpture, I leave the color, I choose a color chart that I want for the characters that I create, but then I have my painters let me know, they choose the colors, and they give me we have a prototype, an art proof. I look at the art proof and we go from there. I remember one time I have a mold maker who's also my painter who painted. I had a Groot that I did for a collectible that sold out, I think, before I even got the words out of my mouth. And this little Groot was about this big, and he's he brought me a paint job over that looked like Groot had all the life had been sucked out of him, and it was like zombie Groot. And he did it to punk me. I was like, what? And then he laughed. He started laughing, and then he showed me the right colors. But my point is, the new thing that I'm taking on tonight is a young lady who is teaching us about color. And the thing that drew me to her, her name is Rebecca. She runs RTY art courses. R as in Rebecca, T, I don't know what it stands for. Y, don't know either, but RTY courses. And she has oil painting course, drawing course, and now she has a wonderful color course. It's live, it's new. And one of the things that I feel I've always wanted to dig deeper into is color analysis. How do you achieve colors with the paints or the pencils you have? And how can you make it brighter? What are some of the tricks and trades when you're painting? Because I am a three-dimensional artist. So we don't have to worry about certain shadows in some cases. We just paint it all the way around and it looks cute, and we make it look like it's supposed to look. And then we create an experience for you to purchase it often. But now I'm learning the two-dimensional world, which has always been a challenge for me, because one of the reasons I became a sculptor was to just sculpt it. When you draw, you take something three-dimensional and you make it look three-dimensional on a two-dimensional surface. Yes. So I used to get frustrated by that and said, I'd just rather sculpt and turn it around and sculpt the back. I remember artists saying, I don't have to draw the back, so I'm fine. But I wanted to just, like, for years, I drew a lot. But for years, when I discovered sculpture, I liked it so much better because I could just turn the sucker around, you know, and take a look. I showed my tribe this series of skulls, which I'll show you guys just for fun right now. These are a series of skulls that I did for Guillermo del Toro's Pirate Bed. And what I do is I sculpt in a clay called Chavant. This is it here, and I rough it out. Oops. Oh, sorry, dude. This is the nice thing because this is hard, so it's not like soft clay, so it doesn't mush. I can go all over the face and everything. But here he is, and let's see if I can focus him for you. I got to get to the right button without looking. Sometimes I take a picture like that. Did you see me take a picture? Because I'm trying to use the focus feature, and the focus feature is sometimes, there we go. Now we'll just kind of back it up until we can focus it. There it is, almost. There we go. It's a little better. You can see it. Well, let me just, it's a little bit of both. And I should set some light on it for you so you can see it. There you go. Oh, that makes it better, doesn't it? Hello, silly woman. But here you go. It's still a little fuzzy. Let's see if we're going to find there it is. Bingo. There's the crispy spot. But you can see that I've roughed in this skull. You can see that it's tiny, right? This is Chavant. It is a oil clay, which means I can touch it with my fingers and not damage it. But look how small this guy is. He's a little guy. Once I'm at this stage as a sculptor, but you see what I mean? I don't have to just try like 3/4 like this and try and put this on a two-dimensional shape when you're painting. I just turn it around and sculpt the whole thing, right? So I found sculpture to be a lot easier, right? Once this is done, I have it cast up by my mold maker, and this little guy is what I get next. So you can see here he is. Now this is wax. I discovered when working for Mattel that this is what you do for toys. And then you might know the very well-known artist Bob Oshevsky. He sculpts in wax. We use hot tools, cold tools, but you can see here are the rough. This is my launch point. Okay. And you can see again, right? So there it is. And then I take my tools and work on it here. And that's the finished one. Holy cats, is that little? Yes, it is. So then this goes away. And we have this little fella right here. And this little fella right here, and let's just get him in the focus. You can see that the teeth, if I put my pinky right up against his teeth, you can see they're freaking small. That's like a holy cats moment, isn't it? All right, this is the skull wax for Guillermo del Toro's pirate bid that I did years ago for him. So here he is, but I just sculpt the whole thing. Right down here is the bony neck. You see? So as a sculptor, I've got this down. Okay. I think you can agree that I've got my sculpture down, that I'm very accurate and I'm very good at it, no matter how big or how small. This is a very quick Chavant rough with this little character I did here just to prove. I did this in about 2 minutes. Let's see if we can get her nice and focused. But you can see she's just a quick little kind of simple character, but she too has a little bit of a profile, flatter nose profile, but there it is. The sides of a bead you might wear it as a necklace, you see, but you can see that she has all the dimension. But, and I'm gonna look at me, I'm all washed out. Don't let me scare my husband because I'm too light. Ah! What'd you do to the camera, Terry? Anyway, boy, that sounded a little like Mickey Mouse, didn't it? That's not what I had planned. But when I've been sculpting all this time, it's been great. It's been fantastic. But in reality, when I started to paint, I automatically did what I usually do, which is go for extreme detail. And I thought, you know what would be nice is if I just could be a little bit loosey-goosey with my painting. And that has been my true challenge. So I thought it would be not, and I painted a couple of paintings, and they are getting softer as we go. Now, softness is not exactly what I want. But right now, I don't know what I want. I'm in an exploration. I started during the pandemic, and I just started to explore. And I'm still on that journey. I do paintings. I call them Catch Me When I'm Clueless. If you want me to do a painting, it's going to be one of my early paintings because I like many famous artists. And I'm not saying I'm like a famous artist, but what I am saying is famous artists start with the figure, maybe figure drawing, maybe, and then they turn into Picasso, where he does these lines and, you know, or Salvador Dali, where things are dripping, and Rembrandt, where things are ultra detailed but amazing, you know, or Renoir, where you go, oh my gosh, you know, and every single Monet. Let's not forget, I could name tons, and Michelangelo, who's one of my favorite. But the thing is that when you see what they do, you know it's them without reading the name 9 times out of 10. So that's my goal, is to be able to do a Terri Hardin. Right now, it's training. So it looks like, I mean, you wouldn't be able to say if you saw it that they were Terri Hardins yet. My sketches, yes, you can, because I tend to make the eyes over. It's not like those people who do those really big eyes, like the velvet paintings of the past. I don't do that. I've seen those artists; they do a great job, but that's not what I'm talking about. I just do drawings that are kind of, the eye is very, you know, done. I love the eyes and in my characters, but they're different from what you see from those artists. I don't want to be hyper real, but I would like to be doing portraits. I like people's faces; they're fascinated to me. But I don't want them to look like other people's portraits. And so when I start to see a similarity as I look, I go, okay, I've got to see, what is it? You just keep painting, or you just keep doing it over and over again, whatever new thing you want to do. So color sounded like a great way to get back to basics. I was speaking with some animators the other day to help a friend of mine, and they said, what we call it is you got to eat your vegetables before you have dessert. And I really like that terminology, You got to eat your vegetables before you have dessert. You can't just go to the dessert. Oh, yes, many of us like to go to dessert, but you can't do that. You will be a little hindered if you go directly to dessert and you don't eat your vegetables, which means taking the basics when you're drawing, learning figure drawing, learning facial structure, etc., so on and so forth. So it's really super important that we take these classes. But the thing that was interesting when I was training, and I did go to school, was that the color analysis classes were maybe a day if you were lucky, or in some cases, just a couple hours. And then the teacher said, all right, you're good, go. And I remember thinking, I'd like to dig deeper into that. So Rebecca, with her RTY classes, offered one, and I jumped at it. And it starts this evening, and I can't wait. Tonight's orientation. It's 6 weeks of talking about color blending, color mixing, other ways you can create shadow without using black, for example, other ways to create highlights in your paintings without going directly to white. Now, in some cases, you have to add some white, she explains, but it's the way you add it and how you add it, and you see what I mean? And maybe if you don't, I'll be sharing with you. I share more on my tribe. Of course, I get really deep. They'll get to actually see a couple of things that I do, because the tribe is where it all happens. This is the happy free channel, and the tribe is the dedicated channel. So that being said, let me just show you how you can join the tribe if you want to. What is the tribe? Well, it's my Patreon page. And it's a membership site. Full disclosure, I'm going to tell you right up. People pay per month to have more time with me. That's what it is. And they've become my family. They become my extended family. And for $5 a month, that's the base level, you can join. And I'm happy to have you join at $5 a month. And we do all kinds of things. We talk about all kinds of issues. I have a Zoom call, usually every Wednesday, but this time we're going to do it on Friday because we're having a special call. So we're going to move it to Friday. And that means that it most likely for you guys on this channel, Friday, it will be a pre-recorded something that I'm up to. So you can see what I'm up to and check it out. Also, I wanted to mention to you, so what is the point of today? Always do something new. That is what keeps you feeling young. I don't care if you're 8 or 80, continuing to do something new helps you become strong. So when you get older, and I just turned 67, many older Americans concern themselves about what's going on with their memory. Okay. The fact that you go from one room to the next room and you say, what was I coming in here for? Now, to be honest, I've done that ever since I was 7. I'll walk in and go, I know I came in here for a reason. Why? Because my mind is a freeway. Many people, to keep themselves alert, will tell you that they do Wordle, or they do Sudoku, or they do a word game. But as someone who paints, draws, sketches, illustrates, and creates things out of nothing, those games don't really stimulate my mind right. It's kind of numerical or letters version, neither of which was I ever interested in any time of my life, right? So if we take that, and that's one of the reasons I'm talking to you today about this, is what you just need to have stimulation that you like, that keeps you frosty, that keeps you fresh. So it keeps you, so if you always, if you drew, then, or you sketch, or you problem solve, okay, I've got to design this, and I need to use this, and I need to use this, but I need something for this. Your mind is working. What do I have? What can I use? How can I do it? Focusing on the dexterity of your hands while you're creating it. Being careful, remembering, if you're carving or you're turning and you're creating, constantly creating these beautiful, intricate little things like my sculptures, This keeps my hands dexterous, my mind going, my focus. You see? So my mind is fresh. Well, plus I pay bills. That's my number side of it. But the point is that more you do this kind of stuff that's in your wheelhouse. Sudoku may not be in your wheelhouse. Wordle might not be in your wheelhouse. I tried Wordle and went, ugh. No, don't like it. My best friend loves it. Ugh, I don't like it. I've never liked those kind of things. Don't like Scrabble. You know, I don't hate Scrabble, but I'm not a fan of Scrabble. What I like about Scrabble is when people take the Scrabble, like my friend Janie out of Canada, she takes the Scrabble wooden things and she adds them in her art because she recycles. I love Scrabble when it's done like that. And man, you can see Janie's art and you know it's hers. And that's from years of painting. She's got a style. I could see it on the wall and pick it immediately. And that's what I'm striving for. So that's what I'm saying to y'all is that keep the best way for you to stay frosty is to learn something new. And it doesn't have to cost a lot of money, you know. My husband and I were talking the other day and saying, you know, it would be cool to learn sign language because sign language opens up another world of communication that would be a lot of fun. And it's very creative. And also sign language is very different. A friend of mine who is the hearing sibling, like in Coda. I don't know if you ever saw that movie, but if you haven't seen it, it's a beautiful movie. And it's about a girl who was born hearing and the rest of her family is deaf. So they all lean on her quite heavily for communication, even though they sign when they need to speak. They look to her and she wants to live her own life and the conflict within that. Well, my friend has similar conflicts. She is the hearing child. And one of the things I talked to her about, I just saw her recently, and I talked to her about sign language. And she said, well, you got to understand there's dialects. You know, you'll learn the basic sign language like you were learning English. And then what you've got to understand is there are variations because it is such a creative process, sign language. So there's all these variations of speaking and how people do based on accents, like I never thought sign language would have accents, and yet it does in certain cases. She says there's certain slang. She told me that they used to have a sign for Asian people that involved going, you know, making imitating the I and then saying the word. So the I, they go like this. But since now we are being taught that this could offend the Asian people, for example, and they didn't mean people who sign it didn't mean that. They were taking characteristics that they could see more than hear because they don't have the hearing to quickly tell you that what they were talking about. And they are changing that. They are changing it now to be more about how they draw out the country shape and then spell it as opposed to showing you the difference in the face. So it's fascinating. So my husband and I have been entertaining the fact that now that we are on the road, me the road to semi-retirement, him the road to to just having fun is what I want for him. Is that we might take a sign language course just to launch it and just to experience what that's like to be able to communicate with someone that I make sure when I talk to my friend's family, they do a bit of lip reading. So I make sure my face is facing them and then I talk so that they can understand. And I try to make sure my mouth talks a little more, forming the words so that they can see what I'm saying, right? So, but what would be cool is to be able to sign with them and on so many levels. So that's something I may be looking into after my deadlines are completed. But that falls under learn something new. On another subject, we are counting down, tick, 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 to Disneyland's birthday, which will be a week from this coming Wednesday. If you are going to be there, please look me up. I'm going to be at the end of Main Street. So come around the end of Main Street and look for my hair. And if you see me, come by and say hello and introduce yourself if you're someone who listens to this channel. Join the page if you want, $5 a month. You can actually take $5, join, and then jettison if it's not for you. But it is an eclectic channel like this one with me. It's basically you get a peek into my brain, which can be scary and can be fun, right? But it also helps people who will ask me questions on there. How do you make a living doing what you do? How do I make a living doing what I love? This is what I love. Can you give me some advice? That all happens on this page right here. This Patreon page right here. That's right. It does. So just so you know, it's a great way to connect for $5 a month. If you can't remember patreon.com/Terri Hardin, just go to patreon.com and in the search engine, put my name and you will find me. And I hope you will join us. It's such an eclectic, wonderful group of people that it's well worth it. It's really well worth the $5 a month. It really is. Throw a quarter in the jar on the first of the month, and by the end of the month, you'll have your $5. So, and a little in some probably. But I highly recommend it. The people are just wonderful. I don't know what I would have done without them. I'm so grateful to all of them. So let's take a look at this. Jonathan says hello to everyone. And let's see what we got. We got people saying hello. And then let's see what else. That's awesome. Jonathan says it's awesome. Sounds so cool. Crazy Mike says, there's his comment. A block of clay. Let's see what this is. Crazy says a block of clay and a MBO would make 3D art and one hell of a mess too. LOL. Yes. Well, you all create your art the way you create it, right? And then Jonathan says it's not art you can control. So there you go. Good morning, says Joe. Wow, am I the only one here? No, you've got a few people here, but you might be the only Facebook person. More and more people are migrating to YouTube, Joe, which is interesting. But I have seen a shift of more and more going over to YouTube. Now, it may be that Facebook is going through its changes. I may have mentioned this before, and you may not be getting the alerts that you got before. I don't know why, because it's, but it is. So I don't worry about it. It's just, let's see. Yeah. So it's, I can't explain. I don't know this. I know enough in social media just to be dangerous, as my husband would say. That's basically what I'm trying to get out of my mouth. Yes. Let's see what Mike says. Good movie on YouTube is The Pentagon Wars with Kelsey Grammer. It's about the building of Bradley fighting the Bradley fighting vehicle and all the craziness that goes in on the government when they do something. Oh, that sounds like fun. I highly recommend Netflix right now to all of you. Last night, my husband said to me, did you like Beverly Hills Cop? Well, I, for one, loved Beverly Hills Cop with Eddie Murphy and all the salt and pepper characters that made that movie so fun. And guys, they just released a updated version. Eddie Murphy was involved. And what's really lovely about it is it's not just taking the title and making some screwy movie that's awful. They actually brought back the actors from the 1984 version. Can you believe Beverly Hills Cop 1, 1984? Oh! But it's wonderful. And all these actors that were in the Beverly Hills Cop 1 and the Beverly Hills Cop 2, as many as they could get, they brought back with a few new characters. And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Is it going to win Academy Awards? No, but it's a lot of fun. There's certain nuances that Eddie brings back, so you can kind of feel the number one movie's influence. Beverly Hills Cop 1 influence, and it's darling. It is just a great. It was a fun ride yesterday. I was laughing and I was smiling, and my husband, you know, looked over at me, probably thought I was a nut because I don't know if Beverly Hills Cop was his cup of tea, but Lord love him, he allowed me to see the new one, just dropped on Netflix. So you guys got to see it. Eddie Murphy looks great. My husband said he had work done. I don't know, Eddie. Did you? Anyway, you look great. And everybody is it's just so wonderful to see the actors that were in the original that you fell in love with, the side characters around Eddie Murphy, like Serge. You guys, if you know these movies, do you remember Serge? Oh, a cappuccino or an espresso you want? He was with an art gallery. He's adorable. He's cute. He's still cute and adorable. Fun character. Just a really fun character. So it's great to see all the characters. If you were a Beverly Hills Cop 1 fan from the 80s, or you have no idea what I'm talking about because you weren't born yet, do yourself a favor and check these movies out. They were fun. They were fun. If you do watch it and you look at it and you say, Terry must be cracked, she doesn't know what she's talking about, that's fine. Because I watch a few movies from today and I feel the same way about those. So just know that movies are created. That's why we have so many films in the world, because there's something for everybody. You don't all have to like the same flavor, right? So check it out because it is just adorable. And I will definitely, Joe, check out that movie too. Jonathan agrees and says that's a funny film, Mike. And then we hear, Terry, your mini skulls are fantastic. Thank you, Mike. I do everything really small. For Disney, I did a Cinderella that was the size, with the bun and the hair and the head, the size of my pinky finger. I should try and find that picture and show you. Jonathan says, that's great. You guys are so sweet. See, Diane Sebo says she's watching on YouTube as well. You see, the nice thing about watching this stream on YouTube is you can get it on your TV. So you can sit, you can lay back all comfy, cozy in your bed with the covers pulled up here and having a cup of tea. Okay, I'll demonstrate. I will pretend that I'm under my covers and I'm like this. And you can watch in the comfy. So a lot of people are shifting over to YouTube because it gives them a comfy. Also, Facebook has been a little, what's the word? Big brothery? I don't know. But they keep making changes and I got to stay on top of it. And it can be a challenge for me because, like I said, I only know enough social media to be dangerous. And thank God I have my husband to help me keep me sane because I'm a baby about it. I want to do it, but I don't want it to be overly difficult because I'd rather be painting or sculpting or talking to my friends on Zoom. So, and I love my Patreon page. So that tribe is a great group of people. I love having them together. And that's why I keep it at $5 a month, because I want you to be able to be in a guarded environment where you can ask the questions you want to ask and not be dissed for it. And in this world, people are coming after you for the most unbelievable things. I remember I saw someone post on Facebook and I was going to say, hey, stranger. I don't know if I told you this story. I did tell it to the tribe. I was going to say, hey, stranger, long time no see. And Facebook flagged it before I sent it. I made the comment and Facebook said, you have a word in here or two that could be considered offensive. And I kept reading it. Hey, stranger, long time no see. Hey, stranger. And so I concluded that stranger was the problem. Hey, stranger. So I changed stranger and said, hello, my friend, long time no see. And Facebook said, let it go through. They basically flagged and said, are you sure you want to speak in this way? And I was like, in what way? But in today's world, so you just never know. Jonathan says, I used abstract painting to explore. Jonathan, I think this is exactly what I want to do. I actually always tease about Jackson Pollock. He's very famous. Who am I to tease about Jackson Pollock? The man made lots of money. I think after he passed, unfortunately, that's timing is important. But beautiful pieces to many. Me, it looks like he sneezed. Achoo, achoo. And then he just profited by it. So I want to try and paint like him because, I want to use that influence. I watched the movie Pollock. I absolutely loved it. I saw that what a troubled man he was. But I'm like, hey, let me try and sneeze on a couple. No, I'm not really going to sneeze on them. But the point is that, like you're saying, Jonathan, let's do some exploration. I've seen so many artists create so many fun things. I just finished taking a class where the guy didn't do dark to light, which is most teachers that teach me. Get your shadows and then put in your highlights and then kind of work them towards the middle to get the roundness. This guy started with the middle and then said you go over to the dark and you go over to the light. Oh my gosh, that was so challenging. That was so difficult because middle light can be very close to middle value light can be close to middle value dark. And oh my gosh, I had trouble doing the contrast that I'm used to. I'm just getting used to. I'm still a little baby beginner when it comes to painting. So I did it because I love the teacher. I mean, I was taking his class, so I did it his way. But I have to be honest with you, as a human being, I don't paint that way. I went back to the darks to lights because it's just a lot more comfortable for me. It's a better training. I see the steps improving. Coming from the middle and going out, it's just wrong. It feels wrong in my body. My hands and body just started really having trouble doing it that way. Some people really took to it, but I did it and I said thank you and I smiled and he does a great job with it. But for me, nah, I can't do that process. No, my head just tilts. It just tilts. It just tilts. Some people will tell you sculpting, you do a ball. Well, it's like you guys who do such great work on these computers. And there's a program. What is it? ZBrush. And they started with cylinders and circles, and then you kind of poke and pull and push and put. I don't work that way sculpturally. No, it is so foreign to me and it looks so weird and it's so wrong for me. Not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying for me, it's wrong. It's not my process. So I still work in live clay and in wax and forever will it be that way. And I've met a lot of young artists who like to draw on paper, not the computer. They just don't get the same tactile satisfaction. And that's what I like. I love to hear the sound of the pencil on the paper. And I love to smell the graphites or the, none of the toxic stuff. But I mean, watercolors have a certain feel to them when you do them on paper, the way they absorb, how you treat the paper in order to get different effects. The old school is what I'm used to, but more importantly, the old school is what my hands like. They're happy doing it that way. Now, it doesn't mean that I don't use the computer. One of the things that I'll do is to perfect a drawing. I'll get a drawing, I'll input it into like a Fresco program or a Procreate program, and then I modify it in the on the iPad. So I love that because if I'm designing something, there's this wonderful thing y'all know about called layers, and I've gotten to where I can hit the layer when I'm sketching, just divide the drawing up into all these little pieces so that the ideas actually I can work faster with my hand than my brain kicks in. And you just kind of get into this sort of Zen moment and you're just going like this all over and you're hitting layers and you're doing layers and you're doing layers and you're doing. And it's amazing what comes out. Sometimes I don't even know where it came from. But when the dust clears and I get out of that zone, there's stuff that, wow, because you're just tapping in to that creativity nerve, for lack of a better word, and amazing things come from it. But that is something that can really only happen on an iPad with those programs um, like Procreate and Fresco. Both of those are very, very good for that. Photoshop is good too, different ways, but I like those drawing programs. You can grab the brushes fast. It's amazing. I used to have a Cintiq, which is where you draw right on it like you do with an iPad. And that's when I first learned that I could draw and create faster than ahead of my brain. So my brain just went into like this Zen thing, and things came from the deep, deep, dark recesses of my psyche or my cranium or whatever you want to say. And bam, there was some really amazing creative work. So it's fun. It's fun. I'm not saying that that is not a fun thing to do, but the final piece is usually done on canvas or paper. I do have a wonderful teacher. Her name is Freya, I think it's Freya, and she's a Procreate teacher. And she works really exclusively in Procreate. She might do other stuff too, but she teaches you how to work on a screen that's maybe this big and create art that can be enlarged to mural size in the paintings that she does digitally. So there are wonderful areas there that work fabulously. It's just a matter of many of us, me especially, like the paper, like the clay, like the wax. My hands doing it. Yep. Old's the new, they keep telling me. But if you've never worked in clay, I highly recommend it. And I will be doing some trainings on it. I just have to get my deadlines taken care of first. So, cool. Defining your style is never easy. You're right, Jonathan. And I don't really, many artists like yourself will say you just keep painting or you just keep drawing. For me, it's just keep painting. And it's going to be fun to do this color analysis class because she's taking my brain into places it's never been. And I love that. I love that a lot. I don't have a lot of fear when it comes to that. I don't have a lot of fear. Actually, I do have fear, but it's not like that. I have fear sometimes, but not like that. I just love it. I love making mistakes. So many people worry about making mistakes. I call them happy accidents because you can't believe what happens if you just give over to it. Okay. I was carving ice one time, and the man teaching me, I was trying to see how far you could work in the ice when carving it before, how deep could you go with your when you're carving out and you're carving around, how far can you go before there's a problem? So the first thing I do when I'm learning something where I'm carving, I take it till it breaks. And every teacher has a meltdown whenever I do that. I did a little vase that you put wheat in. Wheat. Well, you put wheat in. There's little 2 sprigs of wheat, so it's like a thing that went like this, and you had a drill in there and you put like 2 sprigs of wheat or a dried flour or something. I never understood them. I'm not telling you that I understood them. I never understood them. But I was turning wood for the first time with a teacher. I was learning how to turn wood on a lathe. He explained how you use the tool on the wood to round it first. And we were in glass, we were in the protective gear, and we made the cylinder. And then he talked about how you take your tool and you come along and you go over the fat part, and then you go into the thin part, and then you come up, right? So you have this wonderful shape. Okay. Well, he watched me do a little bit, and I did my first pass. So it was and then you kind of change and go to do the concave as far as the bulge. And he turned to work on his lathe while I was working on mine. And you go by sound, you listen. And so the center is drilled so you make sure that you don't get too close to the center where you're going to eventually. You don't put water in these things. It's just all dried flowers, which again, I have no idea why this is important. But I pushed it. So what it means is that I went, and when I got to the saddle part, it went like that. And my teacher went, "What are you doing? What are you doing? You're going to break it. You're going to break it." And I went, Yeah. And he was like, we don't break things here. And I was like, why not? Because once you break something, you understand that in the wood, you know how far to back off. Do you follow me? So whatever you're doing, if you push it a little bit and it snaps, then you know how far you can go. Why would you do this? Because then your art pieces have more depth and volume and some of the stuff that I've done has been really wild. And I don't turn wood much anymore, but at the time I did, and my teacher was like, this is better than mine. And I said, the only reason it is because I went to the breaking point and then does that make sense? So this is kind of the thing you do when you first are doing something. You kind of push it way to where maybe it's really but you just before it gets to whoops, broken, tortured, got to start over, whatever, you realize that you can really get into some fun detail because you're going deeper than most. You're coming out and going rounder than most because you've learned your limitations. You've defined these brackets when you're sculpting, painting, drawing, or whatever. I also work with beginners and I try to trip them up, not like you will mess up in my class. No, it's to take you out of your head, because if you're someone who says you can't draw, can't paint, can't, I want that word to be pitched out of your vocabulary. But rather than tell you there is no can't, I would rather show you there is no can't to prove to you that you can. Okay. But how do we do that? How do I do that? Asked TERRI of herself. And I do these pumpkin classes. I found that if a person is scared of a white piece of paper, what do I do with this? What do? I got to draw on this. Scary, scary, scary. What if I mess up? So instead of making you draw on a piece of paper, or I show you a block of clay and you do the same thing. What if I mess up? You mess up. I learned with pumpkins, it's a little bit different. With pumpkins, you're in your childhood, so you're always making jack-o'-lanterns. And let's talk about it. The food rots. So if you hate it, it's only going to be a few weeks and then it's going to be a cool rotting thing. But I've found that people have a lot more energy and a lot more confidence in carving these pumpkins because you've done it when you were a little kid. You did the triangles and the teeth, and some of you may do that punch stuff that happens. But to carve these 3-dimensional shapes inside the flesh of the pumpkin will change your life, especially if you're someone who's been telling yourself for years you don't have any talent whatsoever. So you're the ones I want to get in the seat whenever I'm teaching the class. I want you in the chair so I can have you for 2 hours and prove that you can do this, right? And that's the joy I get, is to watch someone's light bulb go on in their head and saying, my God, I did this. And the pumpkin is a great bridge into other things. Many people who have taken this pumpkin class have gone on to write books, have gone on to illustrate. They've done books. They've done art that's won awards. Some stick with pumpkins and just win their company pumpkin carving class competition. But it's really, really cool. And that's why I continue to do my pumpkins, is to get to break that wall. The other thing that's a little different from my class is I don't ask you to do the same thing. Now, in this color class, we all got to do the same thing, because she's trying to help us understand the processes of color. So she wants to be able, she's doing it virtually. We aren't there. And to try and, okay, what did you mix here? Okay, but what did you mix here? Okay, but what did you, it's a bit too much for her. She could go mad. So I understand that she's chosen some portraits that we have to do, and we're going to break them down into how to achieve those colors. That makes sense to me. But in pumpkin carving or drawing, or painting for that matter, I'd rather you bring something that you're passionate about rather than me tell you what you're going to paint. I'd rather you pick something that you're passionate about, and then I'll help you. There's a couple reasons, and I've said this before. Welcome if you're joining us live for the first time. Welcome if you're seeing this later, but this is very important. One of the things that beginners do, and you know you do it, is if you all are trying to draw, I use the Mickey Mouse as an example. You do something you should never do, but you do it anyway, and that is you start to draw Mickey Mouse per the teacher, and then you go like this. And you look at the people around you and see what they're doing and see what they're up to. And you put the pencil down and say, they're better than me. Why am I even trying? And I can't have that. Okay. I don't want that happening in a class that I'm teaching. So I let you do what you're passionate about. Some people may not be passionate about drawing Mickey Mouse. And I don't want you to be able to look at another person's piece and say, wow, they're better than me because they're doing the same flipping thing. It's a harder on the teacher. Of course, it's harder on the teacher. It's very hard. I jump like a circus dog through all kinds of hoops when I teach 30 people in 2 or 3 classes in October. It's something that I have to sleep and make sure I get rest for, because you bring a picture and I help you achieve it on a pumpkin. And then I do something that most pumpkin carvers do not, and that is we light mine. In other words, no, we don't go, no, we don't do that. We put a light inside it, and it changes people's lives. They cry. Sometimes they hug their pumpkin. Sometimes they won't let their pumpkin go. Sometimes they leave their pumpkin in the office and I warn them that it goes to juice and then it ruins some of their files. All of these things have happened. But I want to encourage you to not look at mistakes as a scary thing. A mistake may be God's way of trying to tell you something that just might make you a bit unique. So I left Jonathan's statement up here because it's very true. If you work really hard at finding your style, it's kind of like squeezing clay and hoping to hold on to it, or holding too close to love. When you squeeze something too tight, it slips out the various areas. You've got to be gentle with whatever it is. So when you're learning your new style, don't sit and say it's hard. Just keep painting. The style will come. It may take time, but have fun in the journey. Have fun on the journey. And when you get to the destination and you go, yo, that does look like my style. Celebrate, right? Yeah. 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 Let's see. Let's see what we got here. Joe says, why am I the only, he says, why am I the only one now seeing the door behind you? Oh, the door behind me. Yes. This is into my dirty shop. Not the dirty as in, but the dirty as in that's all my carving and my plaster doing, mold making, all that kind of stuff. Anything that's kind of goopy and gucky can get all over is behind that door. Behind my head right here is a picture of Steven Spielberg signed. I worked with him on a couple films, and there's a picture. I'm not with him, but there's a picture. Yeah. Yeah. So there's that. So yeah. And above me is a Disneyland magnet. So yep. You can ask me about what's behind you. My husband says sometimes people look behind you. Well, it's lit, isn't it? Like Mermaid Tail. What can I say? Shelby says, welcome to TERRI HARDIN's YouTube channel. Get ready for creativity, inspiration, and pure magic. Enjoy the journey ahead. Shelby, you are a doll. Thank you for saying that. That is really, really sweet of you. AJC Magic TV says, hello, everyone. And Mike is talking about, he does a lot of models, which I think are a lot of fun. He'll send me a couple of them. They really are quite intricate. The model paints I picked up for my plastic model battleship is acrylic latex water cleanup. So see there, back in my day when I started doing models and I didn't do them very often, people were warning against sniffing the glue because you could get high. You actually lose brain cells from sniffing the glue that put the models together. Now we're more aware of the damages that are being done to people with some of these toxic materials, and we're working to make them not so toxic to our environment or to ourselves. So that's great, Mike. I think that's fantastic. Francisca says, good morning. You're inspiring me to sign up to also do painting class. I can improve myself. I'm better on drawing also and want to improve for next year. Chuck Stone's Red Dot. And I agree with you, Francisca. This is so much fun to take these classes from different people. And I said to my husband, I want to start putting them up on my Patreon page, but I got to finish my obligations first. And with the family stuff that I'm going through right now, and really went through the past 2 years before the passing of my dad, I've got loose ends that I got to take care of. And I have to be honest with you, since the death of my father, I've been a little hard pressed to get back to the table and do art. So I'm hoping this color will help me get back there. And I have a couple sculptures I need to do. I know once I start, I'm going to be happy. So this week is going to help jumpstart, and I'll start to do some work because I have Rolly Crump chess set to finish. And I need to get on those pieces, and I just will pull them out, and this will happen to an artist, that sort of meh feeling that you'll get occasionally. And you're like, do I really want to do that? So I'll do something productive so that I'm not just sitting there, wondering what is going on with me. I just keep moving, and it's good. It's really good. It keeps me healthy and keeps my mind bright. I cleared my table in my garage finally. So the garage is closed up for most of the summer because it's too hot in there. But I had an overcast day today. And if I wake up at 6 o'clock and it's overcast, I'm out, because in July, the overcast lasts 30 minutes to half an hour to an hour. And I just jump on it because it's cooler. I can open my garage door and the sun isn't beating on me, and I can just get my work done that I need to do. And I finished it. So now I have several boxes that say donation. They'll be going to charity. I have a couple boxes for my chalk walk charity, which happens in a couple weeks. I'm going to I will be doing a garage sale, not immediately because it's too flipping hot, but doing a garage sale for the Chalk Foundation, and it's going to be kind of Disney. My table is going to feature a lot of Disney stuff, so it'll be a good time for you guys to come out and check it out. If you want to, I'll keep you posted. But yeah, I don't know when it's going to be, so don't ask me, because the summer all the way till it'll probably, if it happens at all this year, it'll be sometime November, December, mainly because I'm praying those will be cooler months. I'm not a hot month person. I just don't like the heat. I'm so grateful to live in California, because there's one thing I hate more than the heat, and that's humidity. However, I went to Arizona and I felt my skin like turning to paper on my skull, and I was like, how do they stand this? But there's people out there that just love that weather, and good thing, right? But yeah, I'm an ocean girl. Really. I really love the ocean. Yet I get seasick on the water. Can you believe that? Crazy, 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 crazy. But yes, Francisca makes a good point. Red Dot has an amazing auction where anyone and everyone is invited to do a painting for their charity event. And then people bid on those paintings and buy those paintings to help the Red Dot Society continue to teach art to young people. And that means young people, 5 years old. I think it's like 5 years old and up or whatever. And young at heart people like, so there you go, right? It's very, very cool. It's very, very cool. Yes, it's lovely, and she's right. So we're going to be talking about that more and more and more. Pam Smith says, my daughter is naturally very good with color, but many of her classmates were not. So it infuriated her that the color theory was one was one class and light theory was half a class. So she always helped classmates with color. Pam, you're right. And this is one of the reasons I'm excited to take this class, because I have been in art classes since, oh gosh, I had art in elementary school. We also had home ec, because some people's creative palette is cooking and sewing, isn't it? Crocheting, numbers, paper art, origami. And yet we had, forgive me, we had all this in school, and now many of it is not in school, which is a shame, because if you don't play sports, you're out of luck, right? So, so this is what is very, very, very important, is that many of us are now doing these online courses so that people can get specific needs. And for many of you out there, let me recommend one thing you got to check out. It's called 21 Draw, DRAW. It takes an investment to be a part of it, but it has all kinds of classes that you can take if you join, and they're amazing. They're amazing, especially if you're a young person, you're trying to better your figure drawing, you're trying to better your animation drawing, you want to be an animator. Many of the people who teach are Disney animators. I don't know if any Disney legends are on there, but it's amazing. It's really cool. 21 DRAW. So check it out. I do not get anything for it, but I want you guys to find ways to get to test, to satisfy that inner creative need. And don't quit. Don't give up. Keep it up, because you got to practice, right? Yeah. So Pam, absolutely. Congratulations to your daughter who knows color and she shares, because collaboration is one of the most fun things you get to do. I love it. I do it all the time. Joe Penny says there was something going on with my memory, but I've forgotten what it was. Hang in there, Joe. You got this. You got this, buddy. You got this, buddy. Let's see. Right. So Michelle Donnell says, I just turned 68. So Michelle is 1 year older than me. I'm just getting started. I tried flying a real 737 flight simulator. Ooh, see? It's that daring. See? You get to do that daring stuff. I took up learning to play drums a few months ago. I'm learning to paint in acrylics. I've got lots of things to keep me feeling young. It works. And she's right. She's right. She's one of the more sparkly individuals. One of the sparkliest. And she's part of the tribe. So yeah, that usually happens when you love learning, like Michelle is stating here. You have several books on the shelf, don't you? You're like, okay, over here I'm carving wood, and over here I'm doing color theory, and right here I'm sculpting in clay, or whatever, right? Or maybe you're cooking or baking. Sounded fun. Making bread. Whoop, whoop. You never know, right? It's just amazing. Something you've always wanted to do, but maybe your friends told you, why would you do that now? Well, because you have time now, right? And time is so precious. Why not fill it with fun stuff? And it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter what it is. You want to do it, do it. I just started, because it was my vacation during the week, this weekend, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th was my little I declare vacation. And I had some people who were messaging me and they wondered why I didn't answer. That's because the phone is in a drawer. I don't like being married to my phone. I don't like it. So during the week, it's right here. But during my holiday, I'll check it. I'll put it in a drawer, and I will check it periodically to see if family has reached out. But I don't have it near me because, no, that's not what I want to do. I want to do the stuff where we're, it's cool. It's really, anyway, so people say, yeah, I didn't hear from you. Did you get my message? And then I fired up Sunday night, which is what I did. I went to my phone and there were a lot of people on Messenger going, hey, answer this, happy 4th of July, blah, blah, blah. And I said, happy 4th of July to them. And then one guy said, did you get my message? And I said, yeah, just now, but it's the holidays. So my phone is in a drawer most of the time, but I'm looking at it now. So yes, I can help you. And so if you ever text me or you ever message me and I don't respond right away, it's because I'm probably nowhere near my phone. So it's not because I don't like you, and it's not because I'm ignoring you. Don't bring it on you. Don't make it about you. And make this lead with tolerance and understanding. People may not be as attached to the phone as you are. They may not be dedicated to responding to the messages immediately like many of you I know are. Just understand, has nothing to do with you. It just happens to do that we're all different people, and my phone is over there. So, when I was monitoring my dad, I had to have my phone on ring, and it was one of the major things that was driving me insane. I could not relax because every time the phone rang, I thought it was something that had to do with my dad. So for 2 years, it was like being electrocuted, like the beginning of Ghostbusters, which, by the way, I did that movie, the original. But the guy who's electrocuted, this was me every time the phone rang for 2 years. So now it's over there. So just understand, it's nothing personal. It's just that I've got other stuff I'm working on, and I'll take a look. And then if it's during my vacation, I'll say to you very gently, I'll talk to you when I'm back to work. You've got to guard your free time. Okay. You've got to guard it because these devices infiltrate your quiet time. And I don't think that's good for you. So if you don't mind it, it's up to you. But I mind it. In fact, for the birthday, my husband asked me, are we going to work? Are we going to film you observing the birthday? And I said, no, I want people just to take a few pictures so that we can share with people what the event felt like. But I want to be present at the event because many people are coming. My tribe is coming to see me. And many people are coming for the birthday, and they want to come and say hello. And I want to be present. I don't want it to be about the cat, which is probably why my channel doesn't have a gazillion views. But what I do have here with you is quality individuals who want to stay. And if you're someone who decides it's not for you, that's your decision too. But those of you who stay, I know are staying because you're getting something from me. But it is not a channel that says the same thing every time because that's not what my life's like. One day it can be bleh, usually on Mondays, and other times it can be like really chill. So, and July is crazy right now. I've got so much going on in July. So I want to be consistent and talk to you and visit with you. So if you ask me why you're not seeing me as well on Facebook as you are YouTube, go over to YouTube, because if it's easier, you can sit on your couch and watch me on a big TV if that's what you want. Yeah. You have the right to own your stuff. And that's the good thing, Liz is sending good vibes. Thank you, Liz. I appreciate that, my darling. Let's see what Mike has to say. Once at Burger King during Christmas, I made a fake fireplace on logs made out of tree branches and LED lights and tinsel spinning on a wire, making it look like a real fire. The manager thought it was on. Oh, that's awesome. So it was good. Thought it was on fire. That's awesome. Pam says she took American Second Language in college. She suggests that I look into the Marley Signs app to get started. Yes, like I said, my friend was the one who told me, don't just take that as the be all end all. But I said, why don't I take the basics first, eating my vegetables, and then I can sit with her and fine tune with dessert. So thank you for the suggestion, Pam. It's very exciting. Mike asks me how I am. I think you can see I'm doing fine. It's Monday, so anything. I'm like, what's going to creep up on me, right? And then Crazy Mike comes out of left field a lot like me, which is kind of fun. A little trick everyone should know when running the dishwasher: run the sink water hot before turning on the dishwasher, so the water is hot as it starts up. Dishes come out cleaner. I like that. And I know my husband's watching, so there's a little tip for both of us. I like that tip. That's a good one. Thank you. Jonathan says, I learned it once from a deaf peer at my old job. Forgotten most of it now, many years, but I retained the alphabet and can still sign my name. I think that's great. I just like communicating, making people feel comfortable, being there for people. I just told a very dear friend of mine that I realized that my God-given, what God's purpose is for me is to be there for people. Meaning just be present wherever you are, be present. When they're telling you about what they're doing, look them in the eye, nod, and smile. So so this is great. This is just great. This is great. Let's see. Let me see. Pan says, stopping by while traveling to say hello. This is Peter saying that. Stopping by to say hello. So I was talking about being present, and being present means that you look people and you listen and you nod and let them tell you what they're going to tell you. Sometimes it's not necessarily that big of interest to you, but if you listen carefully, it could be. Or you read the room. Have you ever heard this, reading the room? Diane says you get more Terry on YouTube because the picture is bigger. So just so you know. Let's see what else we get. It's still Facebook, but on YouTube. Joe Penny says, let's see, Crazy Mike. YouTube on my TV screen is what, so you guys are kind of just sort of kind of making it happen. Let's see. Mike says 2 weeks, July 20th is the landing of Apollo 11. And when the was landing, the IEM, or is it LEM land, they only had around 20 seconds of fuel left before aborting. On the 20th, I will try to catch some of that. That's the day before Chalk Walk. Chalk Walk is the 21st. So I will be a very, 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 very busy person. But if I talk about being present or reading the room, what does that mean? You know, one of the things that happened this week, this holiday week for me, is I had some visits from some people. A couple people dropped by on their way home because they had some big family reunion, or they had gone to Disneyland for a couple days, and they said, can I swing by and drop something off for you, or can we just say hello or whatever? And I always try to accommodate you if I can. Well, I saw two of my favorite people, Keith and Lori, and they had Lori's brother. I think it was Lori's brother. Yeah, Lori's brother, not Keith's brother. Lori's brother, Chip. And as usual, because I knew Keith and Lori, we were chitter chatter about Disney. And I noticed that Chip was being very polite, very quiet, listening attentively, but wasn't talking. And I thought, you know, when people would come and visit me and they had a little kid, I used to have a bulldog that did tricks, and you could go bang to her and she would pretend to go, you know, she would play dead. So I could always say to the little kid, here's some treats, go ahead and shoot my dog. And they would go bang, and my dog would get up for treats and bang. Kid was entertained for hours. And my dog was thrilled with getting treats. But in this case, Chip, my dog, has passed away, and Chip looked, you know, he did his best to look like he was interested in what all we were chattering about. But I finally turned to him and I said, Chip, tell me about you. And this is what I do. Okay. I want to be present for everyone as much as I can. So I looked at him and I said, tell me what you do. Are you retired? And he said he was an archaeologist. Ooh-hoo! All I'm saying is when you ask some of these people what they do, sometimes you hit the lotto. And not to me, archaeologist is a lotto hit. It's like someone saying they're an astronaut. What? And they're sitting quietly, not telling you what they are. They're waiting to be asked. And I don't think Chip was waiting to be asked, but he was certainly happy when my reaction was, "You're a what? Oh my God. Tell me about that." And we chattered away about it. He smiled. He was thrilled. And then they had to go. And he turned to me and he said, "Thank you for a very entertaining visit." And I know part of it was because I got to hear about him. And this is one of the things that is very important about being there, being present for other people. This is just something I do, and I work hard to do it well. I'm not always perfect. Remember, I'm only a human being. Sometimes those challenges do happen. If there's a lot of people around and I'm not mobile enough, I may miss you. And thank goodness people in the tribe like Bob and Rose Burdine, we've been friends for years, but to be able to sit and just chat, I've said to them, we need to just go and have lunch. Bob has tried to do that, but he likes to talk on the telephone. And the problem is we're both talkers. So if we pick up the phone, it could mean 2 hours. And sometimes I just don't have it, especially these last 2 years that where I was taking care of my father, I didn't have 2 minutes to myself. So I'd say to Bob, look, we got a text, buddy. I know you don't do it well, but please, that's the best way to do it right now. Cause I can't get on the phone right now. I'm not stable enough. And at the time I wasn't. So there you go with that. Let's see. Crazy Mike talks about he got back from Philly. His mom gave him $100 for loading and unloading the van and changing the scooters each night. More spending in Disney and NASA. Okay, I think I got that, buddy. And then a hello from Surfer Girl. Hello, my darling. And then Mike asked, do you watch Counting Cars, the two guys that do the paint jobs? Wow, you should check it out. I've seen a lot of people who paint their cars great, but I've not seen this one. So I will do that, Mike. I will do that for sure. And then look at this. It's Sherry. Sherry. So we've got her name now. Hi, Sherry. Joe says, how was everybody's 4th of July? I enjoyed another Yellowstone all episode binge marathon. We both love Yellowstone. I saw it 4th season first. And Joe said, how could you watch the 4th season first? I said, I had to vote on it. But then I went back and watched the other seasons and loved it. And then, of course, Joe keeps me appraised of the conflicts that were happening in this last season. So now he's binging it. And British Grand Prix, favorite driver, Sir Lewis Hamilton won. He broke a lot of records with this win, too. I also watched the Macy's fireworks show on TV. Great holiday weekend. This is exactly what I'm talking about, is you can take a tip from Joe, give yourself some time to enjoy what you like to enjoy. So my husband created a playlist for me called Mayhem, where things are just like crazy carnage or weird. It's not like you would think. It's movies like Nobody with the guy from Breaking Bad / Better Call Saul. I love this actor. And I love him in Nobody. If you haven't seen it, it's a movie you got to watch. It's unbelievable. And Sisu, which I've spoken of before, very few words, but a great movie. It's like watching a graphic novel come to life. And I love graphic novels, pow, blood. But it's just different than, oh, that's terrible. Just tons of stuff. I watched Beekeeper. Beekeeper will make you nervous if you're an older person, but it is a caveat. It's something you should watch. And watching Jason is always a pleasure, no matter what he does, whether it's a small role or a big role. Plus, I got to check off my Nicolas Cage, and I watched Bring Out Your Dead. My husband said you got to check that one out. Too weird for me. I don't think I'll watch it again, but I'm looking to revisit Raising Arizona. So I love watching, because Nicolas Cage has done so many movies that isn't funny. If he listed his movies, I bet you the book would be about this thick. So I'm pretty tickled by that. So I agree with you, Joe. I think this is a great way to take care of yourself. Um, this is wonderful. Jonathan says you have to break things to understand them sometimes. It's not that you go out and you do it. It's just that when you're testing something, me with sculpture, I always take it to its limits so I can better understand it. And when I went to learn ice carving, Disney, while I was an Imagineer, I'm slurring my words, it's Monday. While I was an Imagineer, I had some downtime. And what Disney does, if they still need you and you're in house, is they say, why don't you take a class? What would you like to do? So I started looking for ice carvers because the party was coming up. And I mentioned to Disney, how about we make some ice carvings for the party? And they said, well, why don't you research that? So I did. I had time to do it. And I met a wonderful guy named James Luff out of Costa Mesa. And I went and started carving. And the same thing, when he was teaching me ice carving, I carved until the ice block broke. And he just like, oh my, But think about it. If you're carving and you're afraid it's going to break and you're afraid it's going to break and you're just afraid it's going to break, and ice is a natural formation. So you can't always guarantee that when you carve it the way you're used to, it's going to stay. There could be a flaw, like in a diamond, and plooey, it's done. But if you take it to that point and then you back up just a little, you could make some really wonderful things. And I told him that if he taught me how to carve ice, I would teach him how to do faces in ice. And he kind of looked at me sideways because he had been carving for quite some time and I was just starting. But sculptors can sculpt anything. We just need to learn the media, which is why I took it to breaking point. And then I showed him how far you could go carving ice with these tools and all this kind of stuff that they do. And first face I did was so dimensional. He couldn't believe it. He's like, oh my God, you've never carved ice before. No, but I have been a sculptor all my life. So I said to him, I said, now I'm going to show you how to do it. First of all, I want you to take this piece of ice to the breaking point. I want you to really feel it. I want you to really understand it. Yes, but you've been so fearful of pushing that envelope. Let's break it so you know how far you got to go. Well, almost immediately his carving improved and he was so delighted and he was grateful that he invited me in. Many ice carvers I called to learn from hung up the phone because they were sure because I was from Disney, I was going to steal their art and take them out of the equation, which is not my intention. I just wanted to learn how to do it. I had free time. I wanted to learn how to do it. But many of them slammed the phone down and said, I'm not going to let Disney have my work. Forget it. But James said, why do you want to do it? And I said, I want to learn about it. That's it. I have some free time. Yes, I'm an Imagineer. But I don't see myself carving ice for Disney as a career. I just don't. But I do. I'm curious about it. So he said, well, come on down, and he opened his world to me. And as a result, he got 3 or 4 jobs from me when it came to carving ice for people who would reach out to me and say, I did a lot of designs early in my life for wedding cakes. I did a $10,000 wedding cake with working fountains. It was the Versailles Gardens, Versailles in Paris, with the bride and groom at the top of the stairs. Nuts. I didn't do it alone. I had model makers with me. But the point is, it had to be outfitted for water because the fountains really worked. I sculpted the angels and the little fountains and everything. It's crazy. It was nuts. It was nuts. But she decided she wanted a 6-foot Eiffel Tower. So I called James. I mean, why wouldn't I call James? And I said, James, can you do a 6-foot Eiffel Tower in 3 colors? So the red, white, and blue, because the Paris, flag. And he was thrilled to get the job. He said he couldn't believe it, but because he had been nice to me, I returned the favor. And he really enjoyed it. We've lost touch now. I don't even know if he's alive, but what an amazing man, James Luff. And a very talented sculptor. And he helped me to understand ice. I don't carve ice much anymore. I just wanted to learn what it felt like. Learn something new so you can better understand it. That way, if I order ice, I know how far it can go, and I can understand someone who does an ice mold as opposed to an ice carving. Yes? So I can appreciate the carving better than the molding. Ice molding, well, it's like a giant ice cube. To me, it's like, well, that's nice, but the carvings are just much more fun because they're much more challenging. And I have a friend who I met through Outrageous Pumpkins. She was one of the contestants. She carves wood with a chainsaw, and she is freaking brilliant. But you should see what the woman does with ice. She's really, really something. So just having the opportunity to be a judge on Outrageous Pumpkins, I'm introduced to some amazing carvers that just, Carvers and Creators. It's a podcast, a video podcast on YouTube. You got to check it out. Those are my friends as well. That whole group, all of them involved, and they carve every week. They do the kind of pumpkin carving that I like to teach, but they do it every week. And then one of the things you learn from them is pumpkins don't happen all year round. So they use butternut squash, or they use, if they don't use butternut squash, they use, what's the other squash called? Anyway, they'll tell you, and you'll love it. And you'll be excited. They talk about, they give themselves a challenge. They spin the wheel, and what are they going to carve? And while they're interviewing someone, they're carving. They invited me to do it, but I didn't have a squash on hand, so I carved an apple. And they laughed when they saw that. They thought that was funny. So you do what you can on there, but there's lots of these great people. You may have heard of the great Ray Villafane, who kind of established pumpkin carving. He kind of brought it. Not that he invented it. He didn't. But he won a contest years ago, which I judged, which I did not judge. But I didn't like the way the contest was held. So I said something, and then I became a judge. But Ray, if you type in Ray Villafane, he's a sculptor. He doesn't just do pumpkins. He sculpts all kinds of cool stuff. And he's now semi-retired. He makes, creations up in where he lives. And he has people, invites him to his house because he creates big shows and stuff. I think he still does that. And he's really, really good. But he brought to your attention, he kind of brought to the surface that this was possible, because besides just carving the flesh, he mega carved it, super real. He doesn't light his pumpkins. He always told me that I really was, what did he say? He said something like, you're cheating yourself by lighting them up. But this is my style. I carve them and I light them. People go, that's got to be a Terry pumpkin. Now, what was Jonathan and I just talking about earlier? Styles are hard to come by, but sometimes they just fall in your lap. And I'm known for my pumpkins that I light up and teaching others to light them up. And they're beautiful when they light up. So when people say, you could get better sculptures, blah, blah, I'm not into that. I'm into you guys having a nice sculpture that makes you feel good, and you light it up and it wows you even more. That's what it is. That's what it is. Bob Burdine says, I must say, Terry pulled out Rose's talent. I am always want to help her explore. So he always wants to help her explore different things. She loved it, and I thank you for teaching her. It was a very comfortable experience. Yes, Bob and Rose are amazing people. And I would say they are artists in relationships. They know lots of people. They're very outgoing, very fun, very entertaining couple of people, very joyful. They have a wonderful family. And they are philanthropists, so they love to run charity events. So for a while, and I don't know if they do it much anymore, but they used to, like a charity event would say, Bob, Rose, could you run this? Could you plan it? Could you set it up? Could you find the people? And they went out and did it. They loved it. And they were one of the best couples I had ever seen do it. They just could create something out of nothing with gathering these. And they often invited myself and many other artists to be a part of these art walks and things that were done for different locations. And they're amazing. So for him to say this, Rose was a little trepidatious about carving pumpkins, but she went in and I told her I got her, and she did it, and she loved it. And she loved the afternoon. I teach in Anaheim. I demonstrate in Irvine. And I teach in Moore Park, private. This year, I'm going to try and teach a couple of virtual classes. So stay tuned, and maybe you can get on one, and maybe you will enjoy it. I think you will. But if you're willing to take that leap and take that chance, Um, Liz says she agrees, releasing fear of messing up. Every so often, I go to life drawing group and draw with crayons. I always got this side eye from the other artists until they started to borrow my crayon. I love this story, Liz. I love this. I love this. I think this is absolutely yummy. Yeah, I love it, love it, love it. I went up to a this class I told you that had, you take the middle values instead of the outside ones, and it actually gave me a meltdown because I was like, it's too close. I can't find contrast. Contrast is very important when you're painting, unless you don't care. But same deal. Many people saw the picture I wanted, and many did a sketch first on the canvas, and I said, I'm doing paintbrush to canvas. I want to be looser. And my first one, it was very challenging. I will say it looks like the girl, but it's my version of the girl, which I like, because I'm fighting making it look exact now. And this is why this color thing is so good, because he's going to teach me about rounding shapes and honing without worrying about eyeball, nose, nostril, cheek, teeth, which is what I do in sculpting. you know, you know, analyzing the face to make sure all the features are in the right place. Whereas if they're a little bit off, who cares if you're doing a painting and it's how you see it. So yes, this is a great thing to say, Liz, and I love this story. This is a very lovely story. Crazy Mike says glow sticks and foil are great for lighting up pumpkins, and the foil reflects the light. I think foil is a great idea. But let me tell you something. Some of my pumpkins are 150 pounds. And so what I do is I put a light inside, a camping light. Yeah, and put it in because they're that big. Glow sticks. They go, what are you talking about? So these pumpkins are quite interesting. Quite interesting. So I'll show you next time. Just remind me and I'll pull them up. Okay. I'm winding down here. We are 1.5 hours, and it's time for me to mosey. Joe Penny is saying this. Hey, Bob Burdine, long time no see, stranger. Have you just been flagged? Joe, stop poking the snake, buddy. He loves to poke the snake, that boy. Let's see. He says, how much is the garage and do you deliver? No. I'm cleaning my garage, Mike, for my husband, because he's got things he wants to do, and he's got things he wants to create, and things he wants to do other than what he did as a filmmaker and creator for NBC television. So in order for him to do that, I've had to pull out what looked like the Ark of the Covenant Mondays, and start to work on making it a place for us to create. And we are close. I am closer than I've ever been. And that is because I've had a minimalist help me. My colleague that does the molds with me and paints in my company, he came and helped me get this done. And I thank him every day. He's an amazing guy. And he just says, do you really need it? And I say, yes. Mike also talks about cooking class in high school. Teacher was Debbie Stern, and we used to say Debbie Stern gives us heartburn. You guys, come on. And Mike is asking, as we wind down, how my mom is doing. She's doing fine. I saw her for the 4th of July on Friday, took my husband, and she was very happy to see us. So it's just great. Michael Morris says, we get new Muppet stuff, you mean, right? Yeah. Let's see what else we've got. I see ice sculptures on TV. They use a chainsaw. Sometimes they use a chainsaw. Because a chainsaw to sculpt ice, you have to be very, very careful. Mike, do you notice how they use the tip or they break down the blocks with the main blade? Because the idea is the chainsaw has vibration and the vibration can ricochet into the cube and cause cracks and fissures. So you got to be careful. Got to be careful. It's the same when you go, that concussion can cause things too. It's really neat. I'll tell you, one of the things that I saw most people use is a rotary tool. You know, those tools that are about this big and it has like a burr on it? They do like a giant mega Dremel. And it just kind of, and the ice goes spraying off, but you can do it gently, like a Dremel, or you can go, dig deep. Yeah. So usually mostly a rotary tool. That we did that, and we did that kind, like planing. Yeah. It's really neat. The whole thing is great. And you want to talk about that exercise, it's not necessarily aerobic, but you have to carve in a freezer if you're doing the big stuff. We did a 25-foot dragon and a 10-foot fairy, James and I, and we were in an 11-degree freezer. So you can only carve for so long, and then you got to step out and warm up. But it's great fun. It is really great fun. Terry, a few good shows, if you can find them, are Logheads, Lake Life. Oh, that's interesting. Candy D says, love Nicolas Cage in Polar Opposite Roles, Valley Girl, and The Family Man. I have not seen The Family Man yet. I'd love to, and it's been a long time since seeing Valley Girl, so I will make sure I keep adding to the list. An ice sculpture in WW won't last long outside. They would turn out water drawings on the ground. Yes, if we did them outside. For the party, and I know you're being fun, Mike, but for the party, we were indoors, a big party. The dragon was amazing. And the fairy was beautiful too. She rose out of a flower. And unfortunately, the table leg gave out and she shattered into a million ice cubes. At the end of the party, like almost like an hour before we wrapped up, and that was pretty scary. But it's great. And you're right. Here he says, I bet it felt cold. It was very cold. You have to keep it very cold, and you know how I love cold. And then Mike says when he worked in a per garment home center, he worked in paint department, and when a big manager would come for an inspection, we would spray paint our shoes black before he got there to cover the shoes. To look a little more, spiff? Is that the idea? Nope, didn't get flagged. Good for you. Guys, we're at the end. We did an hour and just over an hour and a half today for you. Since I missed you last week, I thought I'd give you a little bit more, but next Friday will be pre-recorded because I'm doing something special with Terry's Tribe. Feel free to go to patreon.com/Terri Hardin to join for just $5 a month if you want to. There are higher levels you can join, but $5 is fine. $5 is fine. Test it out, see if you like it, see if the content is what you want, and stay. We'd love to have you stay. Pull up a chair and be with our Fireside chats. And that's what it is. We talk about all kinds of things. I mean, all kinds of things, but it's behind a safety wall so that we can be more open and honest with each other without getting flagged for a word like stranger. So it's great to talk to you. It's wonderful. Thank you for hanging in there with me. Many of you hang on with me. Many of you hung in for the whole time. I want to thank you so much for that. I hope the content was beneficial for you. If you have any questions or anything, I will be alerted as I'm about to sign off. But I really, really, really had a good time today. Today, it's Monday, so there's this much stuff to squeeze into a little day. But I can do it. And if I can't, I'll push it till Tuesday. So it's nice and easy. I hope you keep your heart light and keep your smile on. and do something nice for someone else, it'll make you feel a whole lot better. And though this sounds like a tagline, because it is, think about the content of those words. When you do something kind for someone else, it's like it shines a big, bright, beautiful sun, and it warms your body as well. So if you find yourself in the heart of darkness and feeling down and sad, pull yourself up just a bit and call someone you haven't talked to in a while, or do some, which is a nice gesture, right? You haven't talked to someone, maybe they're concerned, maybe you've lost touch. So just call them up and say, hey, I was thinking of you. Does that cost? No, it doesn't. It doesn't. If you got a couple of bucks and you're in a Starbucks line, buy the guy behind you a cup of coffee. And you don't need to tell him it was you. Just say, can I buy that person a cup of coffee? Or a drink, whatever drink they want. Can you put it on mine? Tell them it's free, whatever. Something to do, something nice to do. If you're out, I used to say when you go out to restaurants, you tip the bill. But now restaurants are so expensive for so little. And I mean food wise. It's probably what, these people are trying to make a living. So, it is what it is. But now it's got to be a treat. It can't be a staple for you for dinner. You're going to have to learn to make your own meals for survival, or most of your paycheck will go in the air. So it's something my husband and I discovered, and it was a real sad thing. We went to a happy hour and we didn't get out for less than $60, $80. And it was like, oh my God, a bill that used to be 20 to 40 is now, wah! And we just got to realize that that's what it is. So make it a special occasion or a treat. Don't make it your staple. In California, many people used to just go and make restauranting their way to have food. And now it can just kill your budget. It can really destroy your budget. So I'm not saying avoid these restaurants, just make them special. Make it a special thing because it's expensive now, right? So there you go. John Chester's in the house. John Chester, he calls it daylight robbery. So there you go. Jonathan says, thank you. And let's see. Then Mike says, when you mix paint, it drips on your shoes. Easier to paint them black than to try and clean them. Oh, that makes sense. I don't know. I love painted drip shoes. So, what can I say? I love an apron that's just got so much. I have a pair of overalls that have so much history in paint colors because, yeah. All right. Love you guys. See you later. See you soon. Hugs and kisses. Be well. Be nice. And enjoy life. Bye for now.